Hi everyone, I am very irritated. I just did this whole video on Canva for half an hour and I lost it. So I don't know where it is, floating around somewhere on the internet. Okay, so happy Friday, and excuse the Hermione Granger hair, but that's just me. And from my last video, I made some notes, and one of them was speak up, and the other one was don't play with your hair. Okay, I might play with my hair a bit, but I'll try not to. But I mean, if you had hair like this, you would play with it because it's wild. Okay. The reason I'm making this video, because of this guy, Yeshua, known in the spiritual realm as Sananda. And I look a bit weird. I've got a weird color. Hold on, that's better. There, well, I'm going weird colors. Okay, I'm not good at this stuff. The reason I decided to talk about him today was because I did a podcast this week, and I thought I was going to speak on this book, and the host spoke about something completely different, which was great. We had a lovely conversation. But then I had all these notes that I'd done about the book, and I thought, let me make use of them. I've got to get this color right. Seriously, I go pink, and then I go black and white, and then I go pink, and then I go black and white. Okay. Yeshua was born Jehovah of the Nazarenes. And this is a very good likeness of him by the artist Yong Sung Kim. His father was Roman, therefore the red hair, very blue eyes, and he was much bigger than the other Hebrews, okay? Because he had that sort of more Mediterranean, Germanic bloodline. And he was wild, he was rebellious, he was bellicose, he could be incredibly obnoxious. He drank, he took drugs, he slept with women. He went completely off script in that life. He came in as part of the Order of Melchizedek, which is one of my favorite things, and the Bible doesn't speak about that enough. It does mention it, but essentially the Order of Melchizedek is a group of souls who have dedicated themselves for all eternity. Yes, that's forever and ever and ever. They actually get tattooed here on the back of their necks with the seal of Melchizedek, which I cover in my next book. And in the ethereal realms, right? Okay, but they do incarnate as well, because they dedicate themselves through all of time to serving Melchizedek, because Melchizedek and Melchizedek's order serve God. And if you don't believe in God, then they serve love and light and the raising of consciousness to the multiverse. Okay. If you don't believe in life on the other side of life, I can't help you. Okay. Because all my work is esoteric. So all of it is about this life and all the other lives and this dimension and all the other dimensions that we are part of. So this particular soul was the first recruit in the Order of Melchizedek. So he's quite something, which is a long time ago. And he knew something then that the rest of us did not know. And that was that he was God's chosen right from the beginning, and that he chose God right from the beginning. And God is not anthropomorphic. So when I refer to God, I say it. So I don't say he or she. I say it. So it sounds a bit rude, but it's the best way that I can refer to God without stepping on toes. And the God that I'm referring to is not a religious God. It's not the biblical God. It's the I am that I am. Okay. So any of you who have come across that, I am that I am, will know exactly what I'm talking about. That God. Okay. It's the God of everything. It's the God that is in us, that We are in God. God is in us. God is in everything. God is the all. God is the greatest paradox that ever existed. And it's very difficult to get to the bottom of what it is. It's not something you can pin down. So we're not going to discuss that here. What we're discussing is the life of Yeshua, which is what this book is about. My story, The Life of Yeshua by Elizabeth Beckett. That's me. Sorry. Sorry. He wouldn't mind that, by the way. He's got a hell of a sense of humor. Okay, he's a funny guy. And he's an outrageous guy. And his personality hasn't changed on the other side. Okay, so he came to me, right? Like his soul came to me before I wrote this book. And because he knew that I was a channel. And he was sort of like, okay, my turn. And I said, no. I said, I'm not writing about you or your life story. You're a very contentious person and I'm not doing it. Well, he pestered me and he pestered me and he pestered me because he's a relentless spirit. Color. Sorry, okay, that's better. He's a relentless spirit. He does not say no. He does not take no for an answer. It's the reason he got pegged up by the Romans on a crucifix. He just has no off button. So he pestered me, and I said, no. And then what he did was very clever. He actually started to narrate it to me, word for word. And I started writing it down because it was just so good. And I couldn't stop writing. I had so much fun with him. I felt like I was right there in the Holy Land with him at that time. It was a wild romp. His life consisted of really the glory days of some of humanity's time. And he was very close to John the Baptist. Okay, Yeshua was born in one of the Common Era, so we got that pretty close. And he did exist. I know there's no proof. There's a lot of evidence. Evidence kind of points at something, but it doesn't confirm it. Proof confirms something, so we don't have that yet, but we'll get there because I'll explain that later in the video. Because I know where he's buried. Okay, anyway. So he was very close to John the Baptist, who was a bit younger than him. So the Bible got that a bit off. And his disciples, he would hate that word, they were his brethren, his brothers and sisters of like mind. They were all mystical, magical, healing people. Most of them were Pharisees. And Yeshua was a Pharisee. He was born of a Roman father and Miriam, a Hebrew mother, Pharisee, who was abandoned by the Roman and then married Joseph. Okay, he was an only child, grew up in Nazareth with John. And a lot of the other part of his life actually sticks to the Bible quite closely in terms of the bones of what we've come to know. And that was very interesting for me to write that and know, okay, we got that right. Yes, he shepherded. Yes, he did this. Yes, he did that. This wasn't quite right. That wasn't quite right. But we're not that far off. One thing that was pretty different is that he spent quite a few years in Petra in Jordan, which is, they called it Petra, and it was known as the City of the Sun. It's an incredibly ancient complex, much older than people think. It way preceded Atlantis, so 12,000 before the Common Era or older. And it was always a spiritual complex designed for sort of mystery practices, mystical practices, transcendental meditation, all that kind of thing. So him and Mary and a whole lot of the others spent a few years there to really perfect their mystical arts and healing. So Yeshua was a great healer. He was also a great orator. He had the gift of the gab. He could talk anyone into anything. He could talk anyone out of anything. And his voice was profound. The tone, the volume, the rhythm, the reverberation, the vibration, the words that he used, he just got people so razzled up. And that was true. And when he started narrating to me, he's just got so much energy, like in terms of how he communicates, that you just cannot ignore this guy. He was a special guy. But he wants to say, very importantly, he was just a guy. And so when he came to me and said, please, will you do my story? And I want you to do my story. I don't want you to do the biblical account. I don't want you to do like the whole religious thing. He said, people know that. I didn't intend on doing that. It was like, oops, I started a religion. Like, oops. He didn't mean to do that, by the way. It wasn't his plan. He actually went off script. He had a script when he came in, according to the Order of Melchizedek, and he screwed that up pretty badly. But he screwed it up for the right reasons. So he was wildly rebellious. He went massively off the plan. But he did it. He was perfect in his application of the laws of love. He was a very loving person, and everything he did was for his God, who is the God. And that's not a religious thing. It doesn't mean the Christian God is the God. I'm not saying that, okay? Not at all. He worked for love and light according to the will of the God that is everything, okay? And if you don't believe in God, it doesn't matter. He worked for us all. He worked for love and light, for human consciousness, for multiversal evolution. He was very sacrificial in coming here as the first recruit of the Order of Melchizedek over many, many, many lifetimes. And this was the culmination of that. And he pushed so hard for that mission. He was so authentic in what he was doing. He ruffled so many feathers. And he was so ego-driven, actually. He kind of pushed his soul over, and his ego kind of took control, and that's why he wasn't meant to cause that much trouble. He was meant to teach love, and he was meant to teach it in the Holy Land at that time. He was meant to return the Holy Land to the state of his forefathers, which were the three sort of Abrahamic, Jacob, who became Israel, Ephraim, Moses. I know I wrote this, but I can never remember these three. Okay. You will know who they are, and you'll be shouting at me like, oh no, it's not that one, it's the other one. It's the other one. Okay, so Noah brought his tribe out of Atlantis. I explain all of that. That's where these people came from. They came via Egypt. And then, blah, 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 blah. Okay, they're already there, so it must be before that. Ephraim, Israel, Cana, the place, and Isaac, Ephraim, and Israel. Okay, here it is. By the ancestors to whom we could all claim a direct bloodline, Isaac, Abraham, and Jacob. We knew them as Isaac, Ephraim, and Israel. Okay, so not a religious thing. So there we have the three kind of Abrahamic religions, like they were all besties and stuff, and they came from the same place. Anyway, I'm diverting. I can't actually remember what I was saying to you. So his mission was to return his land to a state of love, according to what it was like when his forefathers got there, and the whole reason for them, why they settled at Arimathea, the connection to energy, and the priest lines and the bloodlines that connect to Atlantis. Okay, so I talk about the house of David, I talk about the house of Aaron, I talk about the bloodlines, the spirit lines, the connection to Melchizedek. It all ties in together. Okay, and so he had this big thing. He came in, he completely messed up. He was supposed to make changes. He went wild. He went off script, out of control, and he was pegged up on a crucifix. And because the Romans are like, yeah, you very annoying. And it wasn't actually the Romans didn't really care. I mean, the Romans were like strategically there. They wanted to pounce on the lands to the east, and they wanted to pounce on Britain. They didn't really care what people were doing. like at street level. It was the Sadducees that cared, okay? The Sadducees were Hebrews, but so were the Pharisees, okay? So the Hebrews did not kill Yeshua. Let's just get that straight. And he didn't come from a divine conception. That's not possible. Okay, conception is like, it's got to happen in the bedroom or in the test tube, but there's got to be some coming together, right? Okay, it's not possible for babies just to appear out of nowhere. His father was a person, was a Roman person. His mother was a person. It's just that she fell pregnant out of wedlock, which was just, you can't have Yeshua's mummy being so like liberal, but she kind of was. Anyway, so they were Pharisees. His parents were Pharisees, because then Joseph adopted him. His parents were Pharisees, and they were the more grounded, natural, sort of mystical sect of sorry, they weren't Jews then, they were Hebrews, of the Hebrews. They studied the Kabbalah, and they were like poorer, okay? Then you had the Sadducees, who were like fat and spoiled and materialistic and corrupt, and they were schmoozed with the Herods, who were the kings of the Hebrews, and who schmoozed with the Romans. They basically would just kind of change to get what they wanted. They were very power hungry and very materialistic. So when Yeshua started to preach, especially in Jerusalem, especially on the Mount of Olives and in front of the temple, the Jerusalem temple, the Sadducees spoke to the Romans, who spoke to the Herods, who spoke to the emperor in Rome. And it was like, okay, because he just wouldn't stop causing trouble. And he was imprisoned, and then his friends, particularly John the Baptist, okay? So John was actually younger than Yeshua. They grew up as best friends. So the Bible got that a bit wrong. But he was a Baptist. He was similar. He was that sort of pale, thin, weak, feminine figure that we think of. He was actually like that. A very loving soul as well, though, and very close to Jesh. They were sort of polar opposites. And he brought Jesh some laudanum, which I think is an opiate, but it's like a tincture. It's a herbal tincture that makes you can die if you have too much of it. But if you have like just the right amount, it slows all your body functions to the point that it's actually very difficult to feel a pulse. So he was given the choice, and this is sort of climax of the book. I'm not giving it away, because the experience of this book is reading it. It's going through the journey with these buggers, because they were really funny and outrageous, and you would have loved to have spent time with them. And he was given the choice: you can drink half of this laudanum, live through your crucifixion, and we will remove your body and take it to Britain, where a lot of the Pharisees, and particularly the disciples of Yeshua, were going, because it wasn't safe in the Holy Land anymore for them. Or you can drink it all if you want to sacrifice yourself to this cause and not wake up from the crucifixion. And this was sort of the climax of Yeshua's whole journey on earth. And it was like soul versus ego. Do I die in the name of my beliefs? Do I live and accept that I couldn't actually accomplish what I came here to accomplish? Does it matter? What does my God want for me? Because he was very close to God. I explain that through the whole book. He was always very close to God. And he felt very abandoned at the end. He didn't know what to do. And he did choose life. But it was the point of the greatest test for him. And he was so vulnerable on that cross, and he had to surrender at that moment to something outside of him. And it was really the paradox of his life that when he did that, he was his most powerful, because the people who saw this were pretty angry, and they liked him. He was popular, he was known, he did good work, he healed people, he spoke sense, like he just preached, and he made people get goosebumps and vibrate with his words, because it was all truth and all God and all love. And when he disappeared from the Holy Land, they thought he had died, which he hadn't. And the Romans thought he had died. Well, they kind of knew he'd done something, but they didn't really care. They just wanted him out the way. They were really angry. And that's when they started this sort of rebellion, and from there, the religion. Okay. So it was really his disappearance, his surrender, that made him the most powerful, which wasn't his plan, by the way. He didn't come in with that plan. It just kind of happened by default. But when he was on the cross, he spent time with God, and God was like, yeah, you've screwed up. But you did it for the right reasons. You did it for me, and you did it for love, and you obeyed the laws of love, and you've shown nothing but love in this life. So he was perfect in his application of the laws of love. He was a perfectly loving person who worked for consciousness and light. So in that, he was perfect, but he was not a perfect human being. And God was like, I kind of want you. You mine. And so they made this agreement called the compact. Okay. And God makes agreements with souls who are still incarnating and living. And those are called contracts, because you agree to something that's ongoing. A compact is a fait accompli. It's done. It's decided. It's like, God was like, right, I'll let you off the hook, but you're mine, and this is where you're going to go, and this is the end of the story. And Yeshua didn't have much of a choice because he had kind of messed up. And I know the contents of that compact, and it's highly secret. Let's just say that truth is stranger than fiction, but no one will ever know what that is, because it's just very sacred, and it doesn't matter what the content of that is. But what he's saying to us through the ages is that I was so imperfect, but my motivation was correct, and I was so authentic. I was authentically rebellious. I was authentically loving. I was authentically a scallywag. And God loves authenticity, because authenticity is predictable. God can use you knowing what you're probably going to do. But if you're being false, God doesn't know what you're going to do. You're going to become unpredictable. So authenticity is important. And because when you're authentic, you're connected to your soul, which is connected to everything, which is God. Okay, so God's like, you're connected to me when you're being authentic. Even if you're like authentically a bit of a shit, God's like, if you're an authentic shit, at least I know that how I can apply you to life, to do my will. I'll find a way. And I don't mean people who are on the wrong side of the light divide. I mean people who are serving love and light, but who it's sort of, I don't know, they don't go to church, they don't wash their socks, they pick their nose, I don't know, pick something that's like imperfect and impious. But God knows who you are, because God knows your soul, because you know your soul, and it's all one. We're all connected. It's like God is in us. God is not separate from us. Like we are God, right? So it's like we've got to do you, okay? But the best version of you that you can do, and soul you, not ego you, okay? So there's some caveats there. Anyway, so what happened? There's this massive hierarchy beyond life, okay? It's called the spiritual hierarchy. And when you pop over to the other side, when you die, there are 144 levels of consciousness, and you will probably go into one of those, depending on how conscious you are as a soul. And then above that, there's this massive hierarchy, which is like a corporate structure of loads of souls from loads of places on lots of levels who have loads of job descriptions, and they're doing all sorts of things, and you go high and high and high up. And then there's a level of highly advanced souls that I write about often, avatars, others. I can't really be specific. I'm not really allowed to be specific, but it's quite a small level. There are not many there of highly ascended masters, mostly who are working with humanity or the multiverse for love and light and the raising of consciousness. Then above that is the Order of Melchizedek, which is like a club of like anyone, any soul who is prepared to do the work to get in there. And did I say, I can't remember if it was this video or the video before. You commit yourself to all of time if you're going to be part of the Order of Melchizedek, through all of time. So it's through every single lifetime that soul is serving the order. It's big. It's a big deal. So it's like you have celebrities here on earth and everyone's like, wow, it's wow, oh my gosh, it's wow. And we're like, wow. On that side, if you're part of the Order of Melchizedek and you're tattooed with the seal, so everyone can see you, the crowds literally part. I mean, you are a big deal. If you're part of the order, the souls are like, whoa. And like wherever you go, you get stared at. If celebs think it's a big deal being famous on this side, you can't even imagine what it's like on that side, being part of Melchizedek's divine army of light, they call it. It's huge, okay. And that ebbs and it flows, like the membership ebbs and flows. A lot of them retire. They'll always be part of the order, but they don't have to sort of actively be doing stuff. So they kind of retire, then they get young blood in, and it goes on and on and on. And it's not a place you want to get kicked out of or fail from, by the way. Okay, that's really shit. It's totally shit. And then above that is the highest level of souls that you can get to. And guess who's on there? Okay, so when the Bible says, or religious texts say, he's at the right hand of God and he's the closest to God that you can come and he's God's son and blah, 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 blah. It's kind of true. So there are actually 4 spaces there directly below God. And this one is below him, below God. Sorry, not him, is below God to the right. And there are another 3 spaces available. If you want to apply, good luck to you. Not something I ever wanted to do. You can get there. You can do the work. It's a hell of a thing. The spaces are open. And the reason that no other soul has attained that level of mastery and consciousness is because it is the ultimate sacrifice. It is a hell of a thing. And when I speak to this guy, he's very funny. And I'll be like, yeah, it's just not worth it. Like, I know what you had to give up to get there. And who wants to do that? Like, dude, I know what you did. I know what you went through. And he answered me, he's really cheeky. And he goes, yeah, but my God, the view. Okay, he's really cheeky. It's a funny guy. This one's a funny guy. He's got a hell of a sense of humor. And it's like, it's a choice. It's like being the CEO of a company or wanting to be president or wanting to paraglide. It's a choice you make. Do you want to be at that level of consciousness? Do you want to be directly below God and the closest to God that other souls can get? If you really want that, you can do it. It'll take you a long time and a lot of lifetimes. But it's possible. Okay, most of us do not aspire to that. And then, so Yeshua is not technically the son of God, but he's got the closest relationship to God that any other soul, living or alive or ever having lived, has got. Okay. And that is because he chose that. And he chose it a long time ago, and they chose each other a long time ago. They just are very, 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 very close. So Yeshua and God are like close, but they are not exactly the same thing. So when certain religions say that God is Yeshua. It's not quite right. It's like this. It's like you phone a company and you're like, I demand to see the owner because my lawnmower is broken. And I'm a very important customer and I want to see the owner. And then they do send someone to you, but they don't send the owner, they send the CEO. And you're like, my lawnmower is broken. And you're not upset to see the CEO. It's like, cool. It's like, cool, the CEO came to see me and my broken lawnmower. So that's exactly what it's like. Like, you can ask God for some stuff, and God can maybe send Yeshua to come and help you sort it out and be there present with you. But God's like, hands off. And you won't be upset about that. Who would be upset about that? No one would. But Yeshua is an envoy of God. Okay. Yeshua is not God. God is God. Okay, God is God. And that is, it's kind of difficult for us to understand as human beings. Some stuff is so mystical, it gets all mixed up in our mind like spaghetti. It's the best way that it can be explained is that they are father and son, or that they are the same thing, because their relationship is so close. They are such a mirror image of one another. They have got totally the same ambitions and ways of doing stuff, and it's pretty difficult to I don't know, to separate them, but you can separate them. They are not the same thing. Okay. So that is one thing that needed to be cleared up. Yeah, he didn't die on the cross. He was not from a divine conception. He isn't quite the same thing as God. And that means that he also wasn't a Messiah. There are no Messiahs, by the way. No one's coming to save us. I promise you. If someone was coming to save us, it would have happened already. We need to save ourselves. So humanity is here. We need to grow ourselves and grow in love and save ourselves and help each other. Okay? Because some people are born into really bad situations. And I'm going to do a video I'm going to call it I Call Bullshit, because people are like, yeah, but they were born like that, so God wanted them to live a life like that, and they're like in a war zone with no food. No, that's not how it works. God's not mean. God's a God of love. God doesn't actually decide where you get born and how. That's like a whole complicated thing between heaven and earth and choices and soul choices and reincarnation. It's like a whole thing. It's got nothing to do with God. So when you're here and people are battling, for God's sake, help them. And when the planet's battling, we're here to, I keep spitting. It's a good thing that you not right here, that you in the tiny phone. Because I get so excited about this stuff. Anyway, so God is kind of hands off when it comes to us. So he did not send his son as a Messiah. Yeshua was here doing what Yeshua does. That's what he does. He teaches love. He embodies love. He used to glow with love. He was such an awesome dude. And yes, sorry, Mary Magdalene was his wife, his twin flame, and they did get married and have lots of kids. So there are other sort of bloodline. He did leave a bloodline. Okay. Anyway, he was just here as a guy, and there are no messiahs. So the other religions are correct about that. He was not a messiah. He was an avatar, which is a divine messenger. And he is highest up the hierarchy that you can go. And he was remarkable. But he was so specific with me about this book. He was like, let's just clear this up once and for all. Seriously, this is too much. It gets to him as well. He's like, I can't do this Messiah thing anymore. It's like, no way, man. I was a hooligan. I was like, I know you're a hooligan. He's like, yeah, I was totally a hooligan. So, okay. He was just a guy. And, it doesn't make him more or less important than anyone else. And it doesn't detract from the religion. It doesn't undermine anything. When you go through the Bible or sort of the Gospels and stuff, you look at the bones of that, they're kind of right. All right, okay, it's kind of right. It's just some of the semantics are a bit off. Some of the details are a bit off, and there was nothing supernatural. Okay. The healing was totally mystical, so it was an application of knowledge and practice that some of us can still do. There was nothing supernatural about it. And it was like, I think that's actually better, to believe in someone and a set of circumstances that are so believable, but at the same time so remarkable and illuminating. Okay, so let me just get back to that before I forget. So they all escaped, and the main characters were Yeshua and Mary and Nathaniel, Aaron, and John the Baptist, who were a couple, by the way. I explained that it's not like weird. It's very believable, okay? And some of the other disciples and stuff, and then Joseph and Mary as well. So a whole lot of them went. They first went to Glastonbury, so everyone knows about the myth of that Jesus's feet walk through this land, whatever, blah, 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 through this green and pleasant land. Yes, they did. Okay. And then, sorry, that's the first time I haven't used his real name of Yeshua. I wasn't supposed to do that, so I'm not going to do that again. And then it got turbulence again with the Romans. They went to Anglesey, which was known as Mona. Got turbulence again, so they went up past the divide into Scotland. And they went to the Isle of Arran, Arran, it's called now. And it's called that because Nathaniel Aaron, actually supported them financially. He was very wealthy. He was of the house of Aaron, the priestly caste of Aaron. They didn't have any money. They were like Pharisees who didn't really have proper jobs, except for Joseph, who was a carpenter. And they lived out their days on that island, and Nathaniel Aaron supported them and all their progeny. And they were all buried there. So I'm hoping that those graves get found and that we can do some DNA analysis to find some proof, some real proof that this guy existed and that he was just a guy and that he didn't die, okay, on the crucifix, because people don't come back from the dead. No, they just don't. Sorry. If that happens, they were never dead to begin with. Okay, people cannot come back from the dead. I think that's much more... I always thought that religion was a metaphor. Okay, I really did. Because as a metaphor, it works. When I discovered that people actually believe some of that stuff, it's really disempowering. It's incredibly destabilizing, because it's so untouchable. It's like people will always be aspiring to be or experience something that they can never be or experience. And that's what Yeshua is screaming at us through the ages. He's saying, I was not a God. I was not a Messiah. You can do what I did if you want to, or you can do something similar in a different way, or something different in a similar way. But please be authentic. Our egos only ever battle themselves, usually in search of inner truth, God, soul, or whatever. The ego is an essential part of incarnated life and must be allowed self-expression, but not at the expense of the soul, which is what he got wrong. Okay. Yes, he got something wrong. Okay. The soul animates the body and never detaches from the all. When we are living in a harmonious state of soul-ego expression, we are growing in consciousness. So balance it out, okay? Your soul needs your ego in this life. Your ego is the vessel that holds your soul while you are alive. You cannot get out of bed without your ego. But you can't sublimate your soul for your ego. It's not good. Blah, 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 blah. Yeshua completely messed this up, but ironically, it was the very mistake that achieved his ultimate mission and brought him to God's doorstep. Okay, God loves authenticity because God can use that individual as an instrument to do its work with relative certainty of the outcome. Okay. Correcting some misconceptions. I've done that one. He was not a Messiah sent to save humanity. We have to pull up our own socks. Okay. Yeshua was a pious, pitiful pushover. He was perfect. No. He was a rebellious badass who was prepared to sacrifice his own soul for the self-same mission as God, love. He could be an extremely difficult, bellicose person at times. He was not a perfect person, but he was perfect in his application of the laws of love. I talk about the laws of love sometimes. I haven't gone into great detail about them. Okay, because that's kind of leave that up to you to figure out on your own. Yeshua is more important than all other religious and mystical figures, saints, prophets, patriarchs, matriarchs, and avatars. He cannot be more or less important than any soul who works for love under the banner of God, which is the all. He is, however, positioned as high up the spiritual hierarchy as it is possible to go. And this attainment has not yet been emulated by another soul. This attainment took the ultimate sacrifice as well as a secret arrangement with God that the rest of us cannot entirely understand. We can try to. It's not an easy thing for us to understand. And it's part of what we know as the mystery. And the Hebrews did not crucify Yeshua. The Sadducees did, along with their slimy friends. And I think I've answered all the rest of it. Blah, 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 blah. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, Elizabeth Beckett books. Go to my story, elizabethbeckettbooks.com. Go to my story. You can get a PDF download of a bit of one of the chapters. You can also go into Amazon and look inside the book. I've also made a little vid and some blog posts as well. If you want some material, if you're not quite sure that you want to read this, okay? It's such an easy read. It's so much fun. It's a blast. It's very light-hearted. Heavy stuff delivered in a very light-hearted way. I think we're done. Just checking. Okay, the sacrifice that brought him infamy and changed the world. That did happen. Wasn't the plan. Okay. Okay, so humanity has never managed to live up to theological and spiritual ideals because we were not meant to. Because they're not the way. Okay, if they were the way, we would have done it already. If they were messiahs, they would have saved us already. But I think we can agree that it's kind of a mess here. Okay, Earth's kind of a mess. We're kind of a mess. It's messy. It's painful. It's difficult. It's tragic. It's traumatic. There's evil. So we just have to be ourselves. And that's why Yeshua wanted me to write this book. He's like, okay, these people are not getting this right. It's like they're not supposed to be worshipping me. They're not supposed to be emulating me. I'm not the way to God. God is in us. It's around us. It's everything that we are. If you don't believe in God, no problem. Nature, we are nature. Nature's in us. Nature's everything that we are. Whatever. You don't want to believe in anything at all. Doesn't matter. That's fine. That's even more of a reason not to follow in the footsteps of anything other than what your secret soul tells you at every moment of every day. Okay? Because we would have gotten this right as humanity if that was what we were meant to do. He was a deviant. He was such a deviant. Really, that guy. Quick-tempered, eccentric, vibrant, self-absorbed, rebellious, outrageous, passionate, loving, humanity-loving. Okay. He is one of God's favorites, and he is part of the kingdom of God, which is like this massive place and in the ethereal realms. And there's a list. So your soul name has to be on the list to get in, otherwise you can't get in. And he is most certainly in there. But there are lots of others. Moses, Muhammad, Buddha, Nelson Mandela, Gandhi. Keep going. There's a massive list that crosses religions and crosses aptitudes and crosses times. I mean, this is only like the last 2,000 years. I promise you, humanity's been going for a lot longer than that. The kingdom of heaven is full, and there's no judgment or sort of xenophobia. What do you call it? Bias. If your soul has worked to the extent that you are given permission to go into the kingdom of God forever, it's a one-way ticket. You don't actually come back out. Which means you stop reincarnating. If you have a ticket, if you have access, it transcends everything. It transcends life on earth. It transcends religion, belief systems, the color of your hairy feet, your big pointy purple ears, whatever, doesn't matter. If you don't have to go in, by the way. So you're allowed to if you've earned it, but you don't have to. Okay, it's like being part of a really amazing country club. It's like, oh, you've been accepted because you did the work, you paid the money. And you can be like, yeah, nah, I don't want to go. No, it's okay. I'll go. I don't feel like it. You don't have to go. It's not a compulsory thing. It's kind of where most souls aspire to go, because it's very peaceful, very safe, no expectations. Yeah, I do write about that in some of my blogs if you want to go and have a look. Okay. Right, I think we're done here. And it's the end of my work week. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this guy. Yeah, the Holy Grail. Did I tell you about that? It's not an Indiana Jones thing. Okay, as much as I love Indiana Jones. And I always wanted to be one of those people. You know, when you're small and you're like, I want to be this. I wanted to be an archaeologist because I loved everything about lost continents and holy relics and like dead people under volcanoes and stuff. And I used to watch Indiana Jones and stuff all the time. But the Holy Grail is not a thing. Okay, so I wanted to be like an archaeologist person, but like an Indiana Jones archaeologist person, like an exciting Lara Croft. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay, kind of person. That would have been my dream job. But the Holy Grail is it's not a thing. It's a mystical concept. It's a journey. Okay, it's a spiritual journey, and I explain that in the book. Some stuff wasn't given to me, like the Last Supper. Judas didn't pop up. Some other disciples didn't pop up, which it doesn't mean they didn't exist. It doesn't mean that those things didn't happen. It just wasn't important enough for Yeshua to mention to me. And that is kind of, he didn't cherry pick, but he kind of chose the core, the essence of the whole story, the main juice, the meat. And yeah, there was no Last Supper thing at all. I got the sense that didn't happen at all, because his brethren worshipped and adored him, and he worshipped and adored his brethren, and they just never would have done that. And someone called Judas never popped up either. It doesn't mean it didn't happen at all. I mean, there could have been a version of it that happened. It just wasn't given to me. And when stuff isn't given to me as a conscious channel, I just can't make it up. I just have to leave it out. And sometimes stuff's given to me and I'm like, what? This is ridiculous. I can't write this. But I'm not allowed to cherry pick as a channel. I have to put in everything that I'm given, even if it sounds absurd. Like John the Baptist and Nathaniel Aaron, they were tight. The love story is beautiful. It's so like believable and stuff, because John the Baptist was incredibly effeminate. He was androgynous at best, but effeminate on the other side of it. And he came from a very abusive home, and he wasn't well adjusted to life. He was incredibly sensitive and mystical and spiritual, and he felt very safe with Nathaniel Aaron in this group of guys. And Nathaniel was wealthy and John was dirt poor, so they kind of hooked up. But it wasn't like a sexual thing. Well, it could have been, like, I mean, in their private life. I didn't ask them about that, but like, it was like their connection was very spiritual and very practical. So stuff like that popped up, and then when you're writing that, it's like, whoa, okay. But it feels right, and I have to do it. I'm not allowed to cherry pick. I have to actually put down what is given to me. A lot of the other stuff sticks so much to what we know. He shepherded for a time. He lived in Capernaum. He lived in Jerusalem. His parents moved from Ephrata up to Nazareth because of issues in Judea. All of that so on course. Yeah, there's the Holy Grail. Yeah, so I explained that very nicely. And yeah, so Petra was, yeah, somewhere that is definitely was the core of everything. And basically told you the whole book now. But I would really encourage you to read this. It's really funny. He's really funny. He's so cheeky. Ego death. He swears a lot. He swears a lot. He loves to say naughty words. Yeah. Damn, this was fun. This was so much fun to write, honestly. To spend all that time with this guy. And he stood right here, like on my right-hand side, and he just narrated it to me word for word. I just typed 8 hours a day. He just told me, and I would laugh, and I'd be like, no. And he's like, yep, that's what happened. And then we would do this and we'd do that. And the way that he speaks is really funny. Like, don't do drugs. Don't do drugs in the desert. Don't do drugs with snakes or something. Just rather don't do drugs. Like, he's just very funny. He's like quite curt. Very dry. He is very, very dry. Yeah, this is such a great book. And sometimes I just pick it up and I read bits of it, because it was, I think, some of the most fun I've ever had with work. And you will feel him through that book, and you'll realize who he really was. Absolutely not all the weird versions that are sort of apparent. You realize who he really was. And he's hoping that humanity connects with that, identifies with that, and realizes that authenticity, that connection to who you really are, is your connection to God. Okay. That was his connection to God. And he's like, just do you. Just do you. Okay. Happy Friday. Bye now.